Hey guys, Dave.G. just wanted to take you through how to turn a pen. So today I'm turning bullet pens. These are the bolt action bullet pens. So what you get is you get a kit which has a nib, the end of the barrel, the refill, the ink part of it, and a spring. So that's the pen kit. It's quite a simple pen kit. It's one blank. As part of the kit you also get a brass tube, and I scuff up the brass tube with a piece of sandpaper, which then gives it a bit of purchase when you glue it into the blank. So you drill it out. The instructions for the pen kit will give you the size drill bit to use. Drill it out. I use a CA glue or a super glue. Okay, so the important thing about turning pens is when you buy a pen kit, you need to remember to buy the correct bushings as well. So these are bushings, and the bushings fit the size of the tube. So where you've got the tube there, the bushing will slip in to there, and then one will slip into that end, and then when you turn the pens, you turn them down to the size of the bushings, which means that you'll end up with the right size pen. So what we do is, if I just move the camera, so what we do is we slide those onto our mandrel, and this is my pen mandrel. This is called a pen saver, and it goes over the end of the mandrel, and then I can just tighten up my tailstock, tighten that up on there, and bring in my tool rest. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to true this up, and then we can start shaping it to the actual pen. So what you'll get is all these streamers will come off, and you can just pick those off the lathe. So we're almost getting there now. So I can feel that end is down to the bushing. This end is a slight, ever such a slight lip. So yeah, that'll do us, I think. Maybe just a fraction more. Okay, So now we've got that turned down. We've got a few tooling marks that we can feel on it, but we'll have a bit of a clean up. So we've had a bit of a clean up, and you know when you're cutting the acrylic well, because you get these beautiful little streams like ribbons that come off. So so what we're going to do now is we're going to move the tool rest. So we move the tool rest out of the way, and then I'm going to cover up the lathe bed like so. That'll be fine. And I bring in some water. Now I've got 3 different wet and dries. I've got 320, 400 and 600, and this is just standard sort of, you know, wet and dry abrasive paper. So what we do is we'll start the lathe. I'll turn the speed down a little bit, and we'll just wet the paper and light pressure against the blank, and you can feel those tooling marks start to come out. What we don't want is, we don't want so much pressure that we create heat, because heat from friction is no bueno. It's not what we're looking for. So whenever you're using wood and you're doing your sanding, I always find it's better to turn down the speed a little bit and keep the paper moving. If you keep the paper moving, then hopefully you won't get as many hot spots. Okay, so that's good. So now we'll move on to our 400. We'll give that a light rub with the 400. And then finally we'll finish up with the 600. Okay, so now we've done that, it's a lot smoother and it's removed a lot of the tooling marks. But what I'm now going to do is I'm going to go over it with the micromesh pads. So the micromesh pads allow us to go from 1500, so this first one is a 1500 grit, and it will take us right up to 12,000. So we start off rubbing out any minor scratches, fine scratches, and by the end of it we'll literally be just polishing the pen. Again, you don't want to press too hard on these because you can burn through the abrasive layer and into the actual foam pad itself. So this is our 12,000. We can move our water out of the way. We can take some paper towel and use it to dry off any water that's on there. Like so. And then we'll turn that off. And what we'll do now, the last step, I like to use a little bit of teacup, just standard teacup for, you know, car paints, and we put a tiny little bit on, just a tiny little bit, and then we just wipe that onto our pen, like so. Start the lathe up again, and we're just going to rub along that with a bit of tissue, and that will take out any tiny scratches that may be left on there. And the other good thing about this is it really polishes up your bushings nicely. So there we go. So we're pretty much done. So we can turn that off. We can remove our tailstock, take our bushings off, like so. And there's our pen blank. The last thing I like to do is just take the bit of 320, lay it on there. I don't know if you can see this. And I'm literally just gonna, in a circular motion, rub that. So I think, let's move my tool rest over, and hopefully you'll be able to see it on there. Just a little bit of light pressure on the end there, just to clean those ends up. That's it. There we go. And that's our pen turned. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to assemble the pen. So first thing we need is our knocking out bar, and we knock out our pen mandrel. Then let's move the tool rest again. Let's move that. Then we're going to take our pen saver out. There we go. Take our pen saver out. And now I'm going to insert these. Now these are pen presses. So this one sits in here. The reason I've got some of this anti-slip matting, because stupidly I picked up the wrong size Morse taper. I think these are Morse taper 1 and my lathes are Morse taper 2, so they're too big. But for the purposes of what they do, this works fine. So I just wrap that around like that, and I can put it in, and it grips in the lathe. So that's good enough. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to assemble our pen. Now I'll show you two ways to do it, depending on if you've got pen savers or if you haven't got, if you've got pen press or if you haven't. So first thing we do is open our pen kit and take out the parts, being careful not to drop anything. The first part we need is our nib. So this is our nib, and then we decide which way up the pen blank's going to go. So I think we'll go that way. And then what we do is we're going to put the end of the nib into the tube. We're going to line that up on our pen press. We're going to bring up the tailstock until it's touching, like so. And we'll lock the tailstock in. Then all I'm going to do is just gently turn the handle, and as the tailstock cramps in, it'll clamp the pen together. Very gently. There we go. So now that's in, and you can see that that's a perfect fit, because this nib is the same size as the bushings that we turned down to. So the next thing we do is we drop our spring into the pen, and we drop our ink refill in, like so. And then we take the back end of our pen, and we're just going to slide that over the end of the refill, and do the same again. Put it back into our pen press, bring up the tailstock, and incidentally, one of these presses has got a little divot in the end, in the middle, so I can put the nib into there, and I know that I'm going to be on the centre of that one. I can then pull up the tailstock, lock it into place, and gently start to turn the handle, and again you'll see it closes up the gap as it cramps in the end bit. I like to back it off occasionally and just give it a turn to make sure that it's going in nice and straight. What you don't want is it to go in crooked, because you can bend up your brass tube. And then there's your finished pen. Bolt action goes down, pen's working, and we can take the bolt action off. And the only thing left to do now is put that in a box. So that's one way to turn a pen. I've got another blank here that I turned earlier, so what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to show you a different way to put it together. Same principle. So we've got our pen kit, we take all the parts out, like so. Start with the nib again, and we slip the nib onto our pen. This time I'm going to use quick clamp. So what I do this time is I'll put the pen into the quick clamp and slowly start to apply some pressure as I feel it clamping together, and I can back it off again and make sure that it's going straight. There we go. And that's gone in nicely. Then, same as before, I can put the spring on and drop that into the pen. Like so. I can take the the back piece, drop that over the end of the refill, and again using the clamp I can apply the pressure I need just to squeeze that in. And there we go, there's your finished pen. So that's two ways to put a pen together. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. If you didn't like it, please hit the thumbs down. Feel free to leave me a comment. I try to respond to as many comments as I can. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. I really do appreciate everyone's support. And I look forward to the next time. So for now, happy turning.